a vision of the end. Imagine standing on the edge of time, looking upon a vision so terrifying, so profound, that it shakes the very foundation of existence. A vision where four ominous figures ride forth, heralding the end of days. These are the four horsemen of the apocalypse, symbols of divine prophecy, celestial judgment, and the ultimate reckoning of mankind. But who are they? What do they represent? And most importantly, what lessons do they hold for us today? In this retelling, we will explore the biblical and historical significance of these four riders, their roles in shaping the fate of humanity, and the wisdom hidden within their terrifying prophecy. This is more than just a story, it is a revelation of power, destiny, and the nature of good and evil. The opening of the seals. The story of the four horsemen is found in the book of Revelation, written by John of Patmos, a prophetic vision granted to him while in exile on the island of Patmos. In his divine revelation, John witnesses the Lamb of God opening the first four of the seven seals, each unleashing a horseman upon the earth. These horsemen embody conquest, war, famine, and death, forces that have shaped history and continue to influence the world today. As the first seal is broken, the heavens tremble. A white horse emerges, its rider carrying a bow, wearing a crown. This is the first horseman. But who or what does he represent? The interpretation of this figure has long been debated. Some see him as Christ, spreading the gospel of peace, while others believe he is the spirit of conquest, symbolizing deception and the relentless pursuit of power. The white horse, a harbinger of victory or deception. The first rider, clad in white, initially appears noble. White often symbolizes purity and righteousness. He rides forth with a bow, yet curiously no arrows are mentioned. His conquest is achieved not through brute force but through influence, persuasion, and deception. This has led many scholars to believe that the first horseman represents a false peace, a deceptive leader who rises to power through cunning rather than war. Throughout history, we have seen leaders rise under the guise of peace, only to bring devastation in their wake. The Roman Empire, for instance, maintained a period of relative peace known as the Pax Romana, yet beneath the surface, oppression and military dominance ensured its rule. Similarly, in modern times, world leaders often promise unity and progress while secretly consolidating power, manipulating economies, and waging hidden battles for dominance. But could the white horseman also symbolize something more divine? Some theologians argue that he represents Christ himself, riding forth to spread the gospel, conquering hearts and souls through faith. This interpretation casts the first horseman in a vastly different light, not as an omen of doom, but as a beacon of hope. Personal insight. Regardless of interpretation, the white horseman reminds us of the double-edged nature of power. Influence can be used to bring either salvation or destruction. We, as individuals and as a society, must discern truth from deception. Are we being led by those who seek to unite and uplift, or by those who manipulate for their own gain? The second seal, the rise of war. As the first rider completes his journey, the Lamb opens the second seal. A crimson-red horse charges forth, and its rider wields a mighty sword. He is granted the power to take peace from the earth, to set brother against brother, nation against nation. He is the embodiment of war and bloodshed. War is an ancient force as old as civilization itself. From the great battles of antiquity to modern conflicts that reshape our world, war has been an ever-present shadow in human history. The second horseman rides whenever greed, pride, and vengeance consume the hearts of men. Looking back, we see his presence in every major conflict, from the wars of the Old Testament to the fall of great empires, from the world wars of the 20th century to the ongoing battles of today. The second horseman reminds us that conflict is often the price of ambition, of ideological clashes, and of humanity's insatiable thirst for power. Historical reflection. Consider the great wars of history. World War I, the so-called war to end all wars, only led to the greater devastation of World War II. The cycle of violence is relentless, and the Red Horseman continues to ride. Even in times of supposed peace, war still lingers in the shadows through economic conflict, political strife, and ideological battles. Personal insight. While war is often inevitable, it is not without lessons. The second horseman teaches us that peace is fragile and that power unchecked leads to chaos. It also serves as a warning: if we allow hate, division, and ambition to consume us, we too may become instruments of destruction. A reflection on the first two horsemen. As we reach the end of this first part, we have witnessed the rise of the first two horsemen, the deceptive conquest of the white rider and the ruthless violence of the red. But what comes next is even more harrowing. The final two riders bring suffering beyond imagination, famine, and death itself. This vision from Revelation is not just an ancient prophecy, it is a reflection of human nature, a warning of what happens when power is abused, when war is unchecked, and when humanity turns away from righteousness. The third seal, the black horse of famine. As the second horseman vanishes into the smoke of battle, the Lamb opens the third seal, unleashing yet another terrifying force upon the world. A black horse emerges from the shadows, its rider holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then comes a voice, a decree from the heavens. A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. This is the harbinger of famine, a crisis that has plagued civilizations throughout history. The black horseman does not wield a sword like the red rider before him, nor does he command legions like the first. Instead, his power lies in scarcity, in the slow suffocation of life through hunger and economic ruin. His presence is subtle but devastating, creeping into societies as food supplies dwindle, as resources are hoarded by the few, leaving the many to suffer. The true nature of famine. Famine is not always the result of nature's wrath. More often, it is man-made, born from greed, corruption, and the imbalance of wealth. The scales in the black rider's hand symbolize not just hunger, but economic disparity. The decree suggests that basic food supplies will become so scarce that even a day's wages will barely be enough to buy sustenance. Yet, intriguingly, luxury items like oil and wine remain untouched, an indication that famine does not strike all equally. The wealthy continue to feast while the poor starve. Historical reflection. Throughout history, the black horseman has ridden again and again. The Great Irish Famine, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, the food crises in war-torn nations, each a testament to the devastation that arises when resources are mismanaged or exploited. Even today, in an age of technological advancement, millions still suffer from hunger, not due to lack of food, but due to the greed and policies that prevent equitable distribution. Personal insight. The black horseman serves as a stark warning. When greed outweighs compassion, when profit is valued above human life, famine follows. We must question our own role in this cycle. Are we contributing to the imbalance, or working to restore it? Are we aware of the suffering hidden behind statistics, or do we choose to ignore the black horseman's silent march? The fourth seal, the pale rider of death. Then the fourth seal is broken and the final horseman emerges. He is unlike the others. His steed is pale ashen, sickly, the color of decay. His name is Death, and hell follows close behind him. Given dominion over a quarter of the earth, he brings with him the horrors of pestilence, starvation, and war. The pale horseman is the inevitable end, the culmination of the first three. He does not act alone. Wherever conquest leads to oppression, wherever war spills innocent blood, wherever famine grips the weak, death is always there to claim his victims. The cycle of destruction. The four horsemen do not ride separately, they are interconnected, feeding into one another. The white rider's ambition leads to war, war leads to famine, and famine paves the way for death. This cycle has repeated itself throughout history, and even now, it lingers in the shadows of our world. Historical reflection. Consider the great plagues that followed wars, the Black Death that ravaged Europe after periods of strife, or the Spanish flu that swept through the world in the wake of World War I. Even in modern times, disease often follows in the footsteps of conflict and famine, showing us that the fourth horseman is never far behind. Personal insight. The pale horseman reminds us of our own mortality, of the fragility of human existence. He is not just a figure of fear but also of reckoning. If we recognize his presence, we might learn to value life more deeply, to seek peace, to show compassion, and to resist the temptations that summon the horseman in the first place. Looking ahead, the meaning behind the prophecy. As we close this chapter, we stand at a crossroads. The four horsemen have ridden forth, their presence felt in every war, every crisis, every struggle humanity has endured. But is this prophecy merely a foretelling of doom, or is there wisdom to be found within it? The prophecy unfolds. As the four horsemen complete their ride, a chilling silence follows. The world they have left behind is scarred, devastated by conquest, war, famine, and death. But what comes next? What is the purpose of this terrifying vision? Is it a warning, a punishment, or a chance for redemption? In the final part of our journey, we will seek to understand the deeper meaning behind the four horsemen, their role in the grand design of the apocalypse, and what lessons we can take from their ride. The fifth and sixth seals, a glimpse beyond. After the four horsemen, the book of Revelation describes the opening of the fifth and sixth seals. The fifth seal reveals the souls of the martyrs, those who have suffered and died for their faith, crying out for justice. They are told to wait, for their redemption is near. Then comes the sixth seal, and with it, cosmic upheaval. The sun turns black, the moon turns to blood, and the very foundations of the earth tremble. This is no longer just a vision of human suffering, it is a sign that something greater is at work. Interpretation. Many scholars and theologians believe that these seals signify the ultimate judgment, where the consequences of human actions meet divine justice. The horsemen may have brought destruction, but they also serve as catalysts, setting the stage for transformation. The seventh seal, the moment of truth. When the seventh and final seal is opened, there is silence in heaven for half an hour. This moment of eerie stillness is profound. It signifies the weight of everything that has happened and everything that is to come. Then 7 trumpets begin to sound, heralding the final judgments upon the earth. Fire and hail fall from the sky, the waters turn to poison, and darkness spreads across the land. But even in this devastation, there is hope, for within the apocalypse lies the promise of a new beginning. A message for humanity. The four horsemen are more than mere symbols of destruction. They represent the trials that humanity has faced throughout history: conquest, war, famine, and death. But their ride is not the end. The apocalypse is not just about devastation. It is about transformation. Personal reflection. Do we recognize the patterns of history and learn from them, or are we doomed to repeat the cycle? Can we prevent the rise of false leaders, the outbreak of wars, and the suffering caused by greed and neglect? What choices will we make to shape the future? The four horsemen remind us that our actions have consequences. But they also remind us that, even in the darkest of times, there is a path forward. Whether we see the apocalypse as prophecy or metaphor, its message is clear. Humanity must choose between destruction and redemption. The final revelation. As the prophecy reaches its climax, a new vision appears: a new heaven and a new earth, where pain and suffering no longer exist. The apocalypse is not just about the end, it is about renewal, about the hope that follows despair. The four horsemen may ride, but they do not have the final word. That power belongs to those who choose to stand against the darkness, to seek wisdom, to embrace compassion, and to forge a future where these horsemen no longer reign. The choice is ours. And so the question remains, what path will we take? If you found this journey through the four horsemen insightful, don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into ancient prophecies and their relevance to our world today. Together, let's continue exploring the mysteries of the past and how they can shape the future.